Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Spotlight series. We have our great Bunga, or Bruce, here with us present. I'm Tiago. So this week we are going to be discussing surveys, secret surveys, and the new Web 3.0 data economy. So, as many of you guys might be aware of, one of the great use cases for multi-party computation use is providing um, privacy and anonymity, which are two different concepts, to surveys. And the applications of surveys go far and wide. Bruce, would you like to give a primer, an explanation on exactly why MPC is so needed and so welcome for surveys?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, first of all. Always great to see you, right, on this call. Always excited to discuss with you some of our interesting use cases. So last week we talked a little bit about like private voting, and the private voting really went into a very simple use case of how to privatize the voter information that you would vote for, but still be able to compute an answer, right? Compute the winner. And I think this week we want to kind of expand on that a little bit and talk about what happens when you exponentially increase the number of questions that you're asking, participant, and the amount of data that comes out of it. And I think one of the things that people are really surprised about is the current valuation in the market in regards to how much this industry really is. The buying and sharing of buying and selling of people's data. I think last I was reading in our article we wrote, it was $270 billion industry of buying and selling of people's data, right? And
That's billions with a B, right? With a B.
yeah, yeah, with
With
a
a
B.
big B.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And one of the things that I always found, and I'm not sure who said it, but the quote is like, if something is free, right, then most likely you're the product that's being sold, right? And so I think that's how the industry kind of works, these days. You have a lot of large institutions that people know that you log on to on a daily basis, whether it's your email account, Google or Yahoo or Facebook, Twitter, in the Web3 space, you have, Discord, and you have all of these different types of social media, YouTube, whatever it is, right? That's collecting your data. But then there's also like all of these industry players that are in the business of manipulating, filtering, and collecting and analyzing, repackaging, and then ultimately in the end selling that data to people, for whatever the use is. And a lot of that is hidden. And to me, I'm always like, wow, there is no such thing as anonymity in this world. So
There is, though. You have to learn how to become private and anonymous. It's not by default, which is a shame. And the big names in the industry have tricked us into unknowingly giving way too much of our information over to them. Like the phrase that you said was actually like it hit me like a ton of bricks when I heard it the first time. When something is free, most likely you are the product.
mm,
It is so true that it's scary. And so, sorry to interrupt you, but a simple exercise so that people can start actually freaking out. Most people might understand the concept of remarketing. When you Google something and then all of a sudden you get fed advertisements that, oh my God, I just Googled dog shampoo, and all of a sudden there's dog shampoo ads on my Instagram. What a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence, right? And a simple exercise that people can do is just open a private tab on your favorite browser, and just do a keyword search on an open browser where you're logged in usually, and on that private tab, and just do a couple of searches on either or and just see how different the results that get fed back to you. And that's how much information these big organizations have about you. But sorry, please do continue.
No, no. That's a great example. Yeah, I mean the it's gotten to a point where you're seeing these like you mentioned these cross platform sharing of data, right? And so it really begs the question, like, how much are you really sharing, number one, and where is that information going to, and who's using it? It's just completely hidden underneath underneath our own visibility. And to me, it certainly is, for lack of a better word, it's concerning, worrisome, maybe curious as to, number one, where my data is being used, and how much is my data worth? You know?
I would
Um,
argue there's even a layer below that is why didn't they ask me the authorization to use my personal information? Why? And it is when you log onto these services, all those little terms of services. As you
Check
start
marks, yeah.
scrolling down those little tiny little words, that's there inside there, but it should be made much more explicit. And yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an incredibly large industry. And I think what we're going to show today is the potential for a new data market as a part of incorporating privacy and mixing privacy into the survey industry. And I think maybe we can begin with it with our initial slides here.
Yeah. So it's loading right now. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so the main phrase that I like to use is like, the Web2 data economy is really in the buying and selling of your data, right? And so rather than the use of the data itself. And, right now there's, the general way that online surveys are done. And these could be just data collections, right? We're calling it a survey, but this is just basically data collections. It could be through your cookie, or it could be through an actual survey. It could be automated, or it could be actual, written form that you would actually check mark, whatever it is, right? A ballot box or what have you. And the main concept of the economy is that people are exchanging the data itself. They're collecting the data, and then they gain ownership of that data. They're using that data to, filtering it, analyzing it, collecting, and so on and so forth. And what that really does is you lose control of it. That the instant you hand that data over to somebody, you're just basically losing control over it. The data is always collected at that particular time, right? And I think, going back to, even if we look at it from the people who are buying the data, there's even these days like the increasing threats for bots and AI that is creating, either false information for their own benefit, or they're synthesizing, or they're creating fake data to either collect rewards or to mess up different types of results in a particular poll, et cetera, et cetera. So you have those kind of end user issues. And then you have the central authority issue as well, right? So you're giving that data over to somebody knowingly or unknowingly, and then that central authority holds that data. And then you've seen tons of past hacking uses, right? With even Experian being hacked and having their data being exposed out. So there's always that central authority issue. So there's two types of different data. So you have the anonymous data. Privacy is maintained because it's supposed to be anonymous, but the validation of the result is difficult because of bots or whatever. And then you have the name data, where you may have some kind of a KYC around it, but and the validation, the context may be achievable, but privacy isn't guaranteed, right? So we talked about the central authority. You could be hacked, and so on and so forth. So this is the current state of the data 2.0, economy.
And yeah, the problem is that central authority that our industry is trying to combat and disrupt. That's really the central point. Again, pun intended, the central point of this argument, because when you collect data and you have system admins that can, there's two things. One is systems can be hacked, and others, they can be manipulated, they can be changed, they can be falsified. So that is
Right.
one of the big reasons why decentralizing these processes and these computations are so much needed. Can you go deeper into this,
Yeah,
into the Web3 side of things?
so there are ways that we can solve the centralization issue, and blockchain is certainly, like you alluded to, the blockchain is certainly a great solution for it, right? And so you're basically removing the centralization issue, and you're putting it on top of a blockchain, especially if it's a distributed public blockchain, right? There is no central authority, and the data is immutable, right? And that solves one of the problems. But in a traditional smart contract, in the traditional blockchain, it's full transparency. Everything is wide open, and we talked about it at the voting example last week. If you do a blockchain voting, then who you voted for is transparent. The same thing with any kind of a survey, whether it's cookies, automated surveys, or if it's a poll kind of a thing. All of the answers are publicly viewable, whether they are anonymous or whether they actually have some level of a KYC. And I think just like we examined and explored in the voting case last week, if you use a MPC based or private, unified public and private smart contract blockchain, then you could actually have hidden information. You could actually hide the answers that you would give to surveys, whether they're anonymous or whether whether they're automated or whether they're actual manual, written or checkmark type surveys. And so this really gives you the balance of privacy and transparency. Um, the and again, last week we reviewed how this works. We basically remove the context of your answer by virtualizing the answer or vectorizing the answer and then splitting it up into different pieces, send it to different nodes in there, and then we do things like Shamir's secret sharing, and able to compute on these hidden data and able to come up with different answers around it. Right. And I think that's really the point. The point is that we're able to compute on a tremendous amount of data now. The surveys and all of the automated collection of data, if it's number one hidden, if the answers are hidden, you're still able to compute on them and still take advantage of all of that data, even though they're hidden, right? And the way you can compute on it is varied. It's not just, hey, listen, I'm only going to give you what the highest is for this particular question, whatever the question is. I'm not only going to give you what the average of the question number two is, the rankings, EU locations, lowest top, but you can actually take these answers and combine them together. Just like in any Web2 industry, Web2 data economy industry, you're able to combine them together and come up with, answers, massage the different computed answers together, filter it, collect it and filter it, and then analyze it and look at it from a different angle, and then come back with the exact same type of answers that you would have been able to get if you actually held the data itself. Right. And I think that's the big difference between what you can do with a unified private and public smart contract versus a traditional blockchain-based smart contract from a data perspective.
Very interesting indeed. Yeah. I find particularly interesting that you don't, I mean, one thing is to have subsets of the data to be able to do the computation, but you can actually combine the different subsets of the data without actually having access to the data, and have computationally sound numbers that you are absolutely sure represent the truth, which is, it's kind of like a paradox in my mind, but it is true.
Yeah.
So
Did you see the yeah, sorry for interrupting.
no,
Did
go
you get a
ahead.
chance to, maybe one of the things that we will do is, on the menu below, we'll add a link to Ivan Damgaard's multi-party computation, 101,
Mhm.
which he demonstrates how this is all like possible, right? Which he does a much better job of doing it. So we'll leave that link down at the description below. But
So,
yeah, I'm
Bruce,
sorry, I was interrupting you.
no, I was going to ask you a question. So, who benefits from this? What industries, what areas of society would benefit the most from this technology?
Um, yeah, that's an interesting question. I think my initial thought was that this would disrupt the the market industry, right? So if you take a look at the current market right now, you have large players like Google and Facebook dominating the data collection industry because they have portals to everything, right? And everybody accesses it. And as we mentioned, we are the product, right? We are what's being sold, or our data is, right? And so the first group that would benefit the most, I think, is us as an individual, to be able to take ownership of that data. And so maybe what we can do is talk about the next slide, which is, going back to, Web 2.0 data economy, where you were buying and selling your data, to Web 3.0 data economy, which is you're buying and selling the use of your data and not the data itself. You're not exposing your private data, but rather you're just saying, hey, listen, I'm going to let you use this, right? And once you're done using it, I maintain ownership of it. I still have kept my data private. I haven't exposed it to anybody. I still maintain ownership of it, and I'm going to allow you to use it. So the first person that benefits this is really, really the users, right? And I think there are a couple of examples here on this slide that is building on top of that new Web.3 data economy, when you use the public and private smart contracts together, so that the users themselves can be rewarded as a result of them sharing their data. They're not exposing their hidden data, but they're just letting other people use it to gain analysis on top of it, and as a result are being rewarded. So you have things like better internet search, rebranding to Kin, right? You have Instars, and you have blockchain ads that are building on top of our blockchain, which takes advantage of that new data economy. So the first people that actually gain benefit of it is the end users. But then you kind of think about a little bit further into the actual chain of the economy itself, and then you have the buyers of the data, right? You have the buyers of the data that are now able to, um, I don't know if the right word is to bypass the middleman, right? But they're now the buyers of the data can now go directly to these types of groups like Kin or blockchain ads, or Instars, and get a better quality of data, rather than all these collections of information that these large companies have gathered as a result of their automated, or their polls that they did, which is basically a point in time, right? It's a point in time data that they collected at that point in time, and that collection of data could change any minute, right? One day maybe I'm interested in buying a house in Florida, and the next day maybe I'm actually interested in moving to Europe. Who knows? My data changes all the time, right? And so these buyers of the data, are looking for better quality. In fact, I think there was a research that was done that show like 75% of data analysis that they get from Web 2.0 data economy is unreliable or something like that. So the data itself can be very unreliable. As we mentioned, there was bots, there's AIs that can corrupt that information, and through allowing the use of the data, right? I'm still in control of it. That data is always constantly being updated, and whenever you need to use that data, I'm letting you use it, which means the data is constantly up to date, which means that the end people that are buying the data also gets up to date data, right?
Actually, you actually an idea sparked. I don't know if this is possible, but it will also allow for organizations and institutions to be able to share data without compromising the user's identity. So, in a sense, for
Yeah.
example, a research institute would be able, because when you do research and you run surveys, right? Because you want to collect data like healthcare, what's your age, your height, what colors is your eyes, what problems do you have,
Mm,
etc. That gets tied to an identity, and that's why you can't share that data because it's a private information about that individual. This way,
mm.
institutions, for example, can share data points without compromising anyone's identity and therefore accelerate the speed of research.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The next evolution of this would be like the collaboration between
Right, right.
entities of the data itself, which we'll review in week 5. Right, this is week
Okay.
2, but week 5
Okay.
we'll definitely review that part. But yeah, so initially we were thinking, hey, this is great for the end user. The end user can be rewarded. But then if you take a look at the buyers of the data, they're able to now collect accurate information, right? Up to date information that they can react to. So there's a lot of different advantages, I think, with the new Web.3 data economy.
Great, great. I mean, I have so many questions, of course, but we don't have time for all of them today. But yes, slow and steady. I myself, I'm wrapping my head around how powerful NPC is and all these different use cases and how I mean this our entire industry, blockchain industry, it started with the term disrupt. But I see this more as an upgrade. It's not disrupting, it's just upgrading society into a new level of performance and capabilities that we were not even it wouldn't be possible up to now. So it's just an incredible use of our data. Now, for example, when I heard that phrase that when something is free, most likely you are the product, and I told you that it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was more or less at the time where I was actually understanding Bitcoin. About 10 years ago, and
Mm,
then started getting interested. And I started like stepping back from social media. And every time that I see, did you like this or don't you like this? I keep thinking, okay, they're going to use these a million likes and not likes that I do on a regular basis. And this is information that I'm feeding the machine that will ultimately be quote unquote used against me, not against me, but see what I mean? And all of a sudden now when products are being launched that use MPC, I feel so much more comfortable interacting with them because I am reassured that there's going to be this protection layer and that my privacy is not even anonymity because I need to be anonymous, but it's just my privacy, my right for privacy is going to be protected.
right. It's about the protection. I agree with number one. Agree with you 100%. When I first read that statement, it also like hit me like a ton of bricks. Right. Oh wait. I see why this is free
Free.
now. Right. So I had the exact same reaction. I think. But yeah. So yes, agreed in regards to it's not about the disruption. It's about trying to improve upon and continue to, construct new things, make it better, evolve, and also collaborate, right? And I think that's, Cartesia blockchain's ethos, so to speak, collaboration and working together for the greater good, right? But the other thing that I think is really important is that this actually gives you ownership. It gives you ownership back to your own data, right?
Absolutely. That is the essence of Web 3.0. So I'm really curious to see what comes out of the Partisia blockchain's ecosystem. I'm really excited to see what's coming up.
Yeah, me
Anyway,
too.
Bruce, I don't know. Do you have anything to add? Is your presentation? Do you have anything else to add to that? Or
Um, I think next week we'll be reviewing front running, right?
I
And
believe so. Yes, right.
yeah, so
Which is
that
a
should be
really
pretty
hot
exciting.
topic. A really hot topic.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
yeah.
so thank you very much, Bruce, for this presentation, enlightening as usual. I'd like to invite everyone who's curious about what we discussed today to come and continue the discussion in Discord or Telegram. Hopefully, this has sparked some more questions, some follow up questions, or curiosity, or even you may have thought of no, I know an industry that could benefit from this. I know, and I could make an app that could benefit from this technology. How do I go about moving along that pipeline and getting things done? Come talk to us. Let's have a conversation where our doors are open. And yeah, for everyone out there, thank you for joining, and we hope to see you next week when we will be discussing front run.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.